Hayden Hackney to Manchester United. Is it going to be back on? And are we looking at Manchester United maybe making an offer for Matheus Fernandes very soon indeed? So this is a story where actually people have been talking about Hayden Hackney for probably longer than Manchester United have actually been linked with Carrick as well as being manager. So I think Manchester United were looking at Hayden Hackney, or Manchester United fans, including myself, were looking at Hayden Hackney probably about 18 months ago. So this is for me a story which feels like it's been building almost as long as Edison as well. So again, we talked about this in January, we talked about this last summer, and the only difference I can see at the moment is going to be that the links are going to go stronger, but also I think Michael Carrick did a fantastic job at Manchester United, getting the best out of the squad, getting third in the Premier League. But that's kind of where that story ends. The new story is going to be how does Michael Carrick and how do Manchester United build a squad that can do the same in the Premier League, if not try and do better in the Premier League, also manage all the games in the Champions League, the FA Cup, the League Cup. So Man United are going to construct a squad. The question I've got ready is I've got a poll in the chat and this is going to be like, do you think signing Hackney is a good deal? I think I put that poll in. Let me just double check. But this is going to be a kind of a starting point for this stream. If you are new as well, please get involved in the conversation and please let me know what you think regarding Hackney as a potential signing for Manchester United. Whether you think it fits into what we're trying to achieve as a club. Let me know your thoughts. So let me just quickly put. I don't think I put. I think I might have forgotten to put the poll in the chat. So I'll put the poll in the chat and then we can discuss it. So basically would signing Hackney be a good deal? Would it be a sensible signing? I'll phrase it differently. So should Man United sign Hackney is going to be the question. So I'll put this in the poll for people to vote on, and I'll go through like some of the information and let me know what you guys think regarding this one. So in terms of this, a lot of the information coming out. So should United sign Hackney? I think the price is going to be, to guess the price, it's probably going to be maybe like 30, 35 million. So I'll put that there. So that should be live now. So you should be able to vote on that one. So should Man United sign Hackney? Price estimation, I guess, is about 30 million pound would have been a January price. I think the price might be very similar, if not slightly up. Like maybe it's like 35 million. So I don't think it's going to be any more than like 35 million pounds. And that would be probably about the price point for Hackney. So again, also, when you're thinking about whether Hackney's a good signing, do you think Man United are going to sign three midfield players? And in that case, I think Edison's looking like a done deal. Would Hackney be a deal to replace Edison, or would it be potentially be a fourth signing? Or how do you see this fitting in? Is probably the question as well. So at the moment, I think a lot of people are trying to guess, and maybe rightly so. There's a lot of information out there in terms of how many players Man United are going to go for. Would Hackney be a third midfield signing? Would it be a replacement instead of Fernandes? Like Fernandes, apparently United should be making an offer quite soon, and that's been pushed out there as well. But for the starting point of this stream, I will jump into the comments a second. If you're able to share the stream as we're live and click the like, that would be fantastic. Obviously, help raise the profile a little bit of what we're trying to do here. But I will go through the comments as well and see what people are thinking. And so, big up to Lucky in the chat. Big up to like Bilal and Jim and Jeff as well. Good to see you guys. And DJ, good to see you. Lots of legends in the house today. So United looking at making a move for Hackney, and you're saying you've seen this on like other channels as well, Neil. What are people's initial reaction then? Like initial thoughts for me is going to be, I'm not surprised because when Manchester United are looking at signing players, then I'm not going to say that Michael Carrick is going to be giving a list to Vivell and Barada, but I think what we're seeing here is that if Manchester United sign Hackney, it probably gives Hackney an endorsement from Michael Carrick. And the only reason we sign Hackney is if Michael Carrick feels that Hackney would be a sensible and useful addition to the squad. That's the only reason. So if we don't sign Hackney, considering that Hackney was used a lot by Carrick at Middlesbrough, it probably represents one or two things. Maybe one, we're actually looking at three midfielders we think are better options than Hackney, or Michael Carrick doesn't think that Hackney's the right move for Manchester United because he is quite cheap. He would potentially be cheaper than any player we're looking at as well. So there's not really a downside. In my opinion, I think Hackney, if Michael Carrick thinks Hackney can do what he did at Middlesbrough and do like an effective job, I think it's certainly really worth considering him. And I think it's definitely, for me, if Hackney costs £30 million, It could be the difference between 1 year in the Premier League probably adds about 15, 20 million pounds at that point. So again, if you think no, then absolutely fine to do, fine to have that view as well. So maybe again, there's going to be a lot of speculation. Isn't Hackney on the same level as Edison? So would we be getting him instead of Edison? I think it's a difficult. This is really difficult to guess, isn't it? Because if you're looking at Edison, Edison has played in the Champions League. He's played in the Europa League final and helped win that competition. So I don't think that Hackney is the same level as Edison. I think Edison's going to be a level above Hackney, but Hackney has got time on his side. He's a younger player. It's a bit like saying that how would you compare, I suppose, players playing at the top level in the championship, which let's be honest, like you have players that have gone from the championship to the Bundesliga. You've got players from the championship, like Trafford was one of the top goalkeepers. He would have been first choice goalkeeper at Manchester City if they didn't get the Donnarumma deal done. So I think it's very difficult to compare. I would say experience wise, Edison's got a lot more. But if you're looking at what would be the best player to have in your squad in 3 years' time, then maybe Hackney would be. They're kind for me, they're kind of similar, Jim. And I'd say that if Man United signed three midfield players and Hackney was the third, or if Edison was the third, I'd feel quite relaxed. A lot of my opinions on Hayden Hackney probably be revolve around who are the other players we're signing alongside him. So I think Hackney is a cheap deal, an effective signing. I'm not going to be too worried about how much he costs. Bilal's saying technically, would you get him in, Bilal? So I'd be genuinely interested to see where Man United go with this one. If they're going to buy Hackney, just spend the extra for Buwadi. So I'd say like with Buwadi, maybe they're looking at Matas Fernandes as being like that kind of that level and thinking that he's going to get to that eight stage. It could be that they think that Buwadi might be. I think Buwadi might very well be a bit like Yoro, and it might be that he's got a very high ceiling. Are they wondering whether that they have got Yoro in the squad? He's been here for a couple of seasons. Are they thinking that maybe Hackney or maybe Edison actually has a bit more impact quicker? That's the only thing I can think of. I do really rate Buwadi, so I would go for Buwadi. But again, if you're looking at players, it's difficult to guess, isn't it? Now, be up to you, Daz. Don't get in trouble at work. So I appreciate that. Be up to you, Jeff, as well. So Hackney is a no if he's replacing Fernandez. So I think, Jim, this is the difficulty, isn't it? If you said like, is Hackney a good deal? For me, it's like we don't have all the information to make that decision. Hackney for me is a good sign. If Manchester United got Tonali and they got, say, Matheus Fernandes and they got Edison and they got Hackney as well, I mean, we're talking about four signings. And if he was a replacement for Edison, I think that's another scenario where I think that's absolutely fine. But if you think about it, Manchester United are replacing Casemiro, they're replacing Agate. I think we're probably actually replacing Toby Collier as well. And maybe we're replacing Edison from last season, so replacing Christian Eriksen from last season. So I'm not saying we need to get four players in, but maybe they're looking at just depth as well. It wouldn't necessarily be that expensive, so we would be looking at about £30 million. So Matheus Fernandes talks going, and again, I think with this one, I don't think we'll have to wait ages to find out whether there's actually any legs in this deal at all, because this will be something that if Manchester United want Hackney, I think it gets done. Hackney did turn down a move to, I think it was Ipswich. It might have been, I think it was like towards the end of like the transfer window when Ipswich made an offer. I think Middlesbrough actually accepted the offer, and then Hackney turned them down, holding out for a Premier League club. So it might be that he's just waiting for a move, and maybe he wants to leave the club. I think a lot of people thought that he might, he might stick with Middlesbrough if they got promoted, but because they didn't, he might be looking to leave the club. And no, I agree with like Lucky. Just to quickly say about the other story we want to cover as well today, it's going to be a bit of Matheus Fernandes story. This account actually seems to be quite credible, but I saw another story as well this morning talking about the same sort of thing. So it looks like maybe we're going to get an offer for Matheus Fernandes going in. Again, this doesn't mean that we're definitely going to sign Matheus Fernandes, but it does look a little bit like we're starting to get an idea of the players Man United want. So I get the feeling that Man United want Edison's going to get done. I think Matheus Fernandes feels likely. The only reason I can see Hackney being discussed as well is if Hackney's cheap enough that Man United can do four, but a Hackney, Matheus Fernandes, and an Edison transfer window. For me, that would be not very good. But I don't think that's going to be the window. But that would be my kind of thoughts regarding that one as well. Also, I don't know if it's still in the comments, but I think I saw a comment from Howard early on as well. I just wanted to say this as well. Shout out to Howard as well. Thanks for getting in the comments. I hope you're having a good day. No, I think most people are starting to look at the news now and say it seems to be going in one way of like you see the people that have been linked to Man United. It's starting to make a bit more sense, but the transfer window isn't even open yet, and it feels a little bit like the Hackney thing. It might be an indication of let's just see if he's. I'm sure he would be interested. Like this doesn't seem to be the sort of deal we're looking at where Hayden Hackney would hold out for a better club. I think if Manchester United wanted him, he's definitely going to be there. And I think it maybe what we could be looking at is Edison's going to come in from Serie A. The benefit of someone like Hayden Hackney is maybe Michael Carrick, the way we're going to set up our team next season will be different to what we did last season. If you look at the results from January onwards, they're very good, but it was pretty much we had a midfield that was built around Casemiro. That's obviously not going to be the case. And it might be building around Mainu. It might be having players like Tonali in the team. It might be that Michael Carrick looks at some of the options and thinks actually Hayden Hackney would be a good player to bring in if he's got the right skill set for what Carrick wants. So I'm actually expecting next season to see a little bit more of a Michael Carrick stamp on the team. That he might. I'm not going to say he's going to get a lot of say in the players, but it might be that the way that Man United play might be a little more in line with what Michael Carrick wants to do. So it might be that he changes things up a little bit in line with what he preferred to do, and it might mean that it depends on which players we bring in, how quickly he can do that as well. So I think nothing's going to be that static at Man United. I don't think we're going to be replacing Casemiro. We're a player that does exactly what Casemiro does, so there will be some evolution in this as well. So yeah, Fletcher made the World Cup squad. That's really impressive as well. So that's really good news. I think it's an indication as well that Man United we've got some quality coming through, and that's just another bit of good news for players around the team as well. So Hackney is the next Anderson. So this is one of the things as well. Now this is a different angle, and Stephanie's kind of triggered something in my mind. Is that Nottingham Forest seem to be linked to Hackney. Um, I don't know how this would link into an Anderson deal, but is there any chance that Man United are effectively, I don't know, just this is probably the player that Nottingham Forest want to replace Anderson with. This is what's been like talked about. There was a few links maybe a couple of weeks ago, and I think Stephanie's on something here. There was definitely some noise around where will Hackney go, and it's like are Nottingham Forest looking to cash in on Anderson and then bring in someone like Hackney? Okay, no one's really thinking that Hackney's going to be able to do what Anderson does straight away. The question is going to be that this is kind of what I've said recently, and I was on a space about half an hour ago that if you take Hayden Hackney out of Middlesbrough and you drop him in a Premier League team, like any Premier League team, where it's going to be like Nottingham Forest or it's going to be Brentford and Brighton, the sort of teams that generally buy cheaper players and then make a profit. Is Hayden Hackney the sort of player that in 12 months' time we'd be looking at thinking, right now let's pay £50 million for him is a good option, good solid option, or 55 million. Is this one of these deals where it doesn't even matter if Hackney's going to be part of the first team a lot? It might be like an opportunistic deal. It might be just that the deal's too cheap not to do. £30 million for a midfielder that potentially is £50 million with one good season in the Premier League, because that seems to be pretty much what happens. One good season in the Premier League, 50 million seems to be like a minimum price. And if you're playing for Manchester United and have a good season and get Champions League football, and he plays well in the Champions League as well, I I, I think it's not a bad deal, Stephanie, when you look at it. But if we looked at this and said, right, obviously he's not a flagship signing, and I think if Matheus Fernandes was the flagship signing, we've got some issues as well that he shouldn't be either. But in terms of like how this fits into a strategy, I don't mind it. I mean, I'm quite easily pleased. I just want Man United to buy midfielders, so I'm not going to be overly stressed about some of these deals. But no, I'll go through some of the comments and see what people are thinking regarding this one. Also, good to see a DJ in the chat as well. Welcome, TJ says, so Brighton wants to sign Hackney. So if Brighton want to sign Hackney, I get NF, yeah, Nottingham Forest, yeah, I get a reference then. Yeah, Nottingham Forest and Brighton want to sign Hackney. For me, I think it's kind of I kind of group it into in my mind the Hackney signing feels like a deal where if Manchester United did it, the worst case scenario is it's a bit like buying a property if property prices are surging. The worst case deal is even if Manchester United don't really need Hackney, it just it's a profitable deal either way. Best case scenario is Hayden Hackney is actually a better option than Edison in a few years' time. And if we're looking at those two players and you had to make a decision, I would probably I would seriously consider Hackney over Edison for longevity, the same way I thought that Benjamin Sesko would be a better long-term option than Ollie Watkins. Because over the in one season, Ollie Watkins has probably got more goals than Sesko, but it's quite close. But next year, I think maybe Sesko gets the same amount of goals, if not slightly more. And I think Ollie Watkins in 3 years' time will not be as good as Sesko is in 3 years' time. And it's the same with Hackney and Edison. That Hayden Hackney salary wise would probably be quite low. So for me, it's not a problem at all. And so Berber says that you see Hackney the same way you see Edison, a squad player. You get a lot of games though. I think a lot of people are forgetting that last season we got knocked out of the FA Cup and the League Cup pretty much like the first game, and we played hardly any matches at all. If you factor in the Champions League, you've got to be dreadful to only play 8 games in the Champions League. It's probably 10 as a minimum. I think Manchester United should be looking to play like 10, 12 games as a minimum in the Champions League, at least several games in the FA Cup, at least games in the League Cup as well. So we could be talking easy like 55 games instead of like 40 games. So in the same way that Man United squad's not big enough, you could also see a bit more proactive substitutions as well. So it's, a lot of these players would not necessarily just all start more games, but they'd feature in more games as well. I mean, Benjamin Sesko needs some cover so he can be rotated out. Kerry Mainu shouldn't start every single match either. We need to keep the squad fresh and rotate players a bit more. And I think Hackney could definitely come in and be a really effective player. So if you're looking at maybe Mainu, maybe an elite midfielder alongside him, you've got maybe Fernandez, you got Hackney or Edison. You got options there, and I don't think United should get Edison, Hackney, and like another cheaper sort of midfielder. You do need to get some quality in there, but you need a combination, I think. So the way I see Hackney is the way I see Edison, where I look at him as an option that's going to be pretty reliable, not necessarily going to be exciting, but at least with Hackney, you expect in a couple of years' time the player improves. And if you're looking at the best possible signing, that's when we kind of go to like the tier one list, which is deals that are going to take a lot longer to do. So I've got a picture from this morning stream actually, where if you're looking at deals that are going to take ages, like the Tonali negotiation with Newcastle will take a while. Anderson will drag it out because he probably wants to get the most money from that deal as well. Too many. I mean, I've said all I can say about too many. I think he's going to stay, but we'll get linked to him probably relentlessly by journalists because he's a big name. So I'm not really surprised that we keep hearing about him. But to be honest, I don't think that's got a lot of legs in it. To be honest, and so yeah, no cons. Yeah, exactly. I think I said I was trying to say the same sort of thing. Maybe I phrased it badly, but so it's not just about all the games they start. It's about the rotation during matches as well. It's about earlier substitutions. So effectively, you could be looking at yeah, if you start like say a lot of these players we're talking about, they could come in and play 30 games, and over the whole season they might not even be considered like a regular first team player, but they could still take part in so many matches because they could come on for 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and it would mean that we can have a level of quality from minute one to minute 90. Because I think it's more of a squad game than ever with 5 substitutions, and it could be that if like Tonali and Mainu start at some point. Maybe like Hackney can come on depending on what's required. Or you could look at these games and go, right, actually, this is a game where we're expected to win comfortably. So maybe we can rotate some of the starters out, put in like Hackney or Edison or something like that. So it's about having a lot of options, I think, as well. And don't forget, over the season, at some point, we're going to have some injuries to first team players. So you need to have the backup options to be at least like a certain level of competency. But no, I agree with like cons. So it could be that Man United have got a way of playing on a minute one, and then depending on how the game goes, whether we're protecting a lead or whether we're fighting to get back into it, these players can come on and hopefully influence the game. Welcome to the chat, United So Die. So you're saying the issue is if you buy Edison, Fernandez, and say that Tonali, so I believe there's quite a few players on this, then Edison would not get many minutes. So he would be a lot more, maybe a lot more in the, no, maybe you're looking in the Champions League as well. So it could be with this one. Do you remember when Chelsea had a team that was almost like a different team for the Conference League and then a different team for the Premier League? I'm not saying that would necessarily be the case, but it could be that one way of keeping Vitek at the club could be right. Here are the cup games. You get to play the cup games. You get to play maybe some Champions League games as well. And then maybe for like some of the players coming through, maybe you do have like Tonali and Kerry Mainu are going to be your first choice players in the Premier League. And then maybe when it comes to a cup game or a League Cup game, maybe you're looking at Hackney and Fernandez, or Edison and Fernandez, or Hackney and Fernandez, Edison, depending on who's in the club. And it could be like there's still a lot of football to be played. I think it's actually might be more difficult having a player like Boadi come into the squad because I feel like if you're jumping from the French league to the Premier League, it's like you probably want to have a decent amount of games and decent amount of minutes. So it might be that with Hackney, he's already going to be. I think the difference between the top teams in the Championship and the bottom 4 or 5 teams in the Premier League, the difference is not quite so much as it used to be. There's a lot more money in teams that get relegated. And I think also, it's the top sort of 4 or 5 teams in the Championship. Some of their best players would be absolutely fine in the Premier League anyway. So I don't see there's been a big drop off. But you could look at this as well, couldn't you? That some people just play a lot more football in one competition. And Danny's saying that a bit of versatility is actually not a bad thing either, is it? So you're saying that Hackney, Matheus Fernandes could play the 10 if anything happens to Bruno. So I think when people are talking about Curry Mainu, maybe Curry Mainu's best work at the moment is more defensive, like in terms of like more as a six, and he's very, very good receiving the ball either side, playing out from the back, making the right call, etc. So now we could see that Mainu, whether Mainu changes and plays differently, and when his career evolves, maybe Curry Mainu is going to be potentially like a world class six at the moment, and that could be his role as Man United look to try and build on what they did last season. And maybe with Hackney, people that watch him play say that there is a bit more about him in terms of like passing and creative ability. So it could be that someone like Hackney does have that skill set. So I think it's about having a few more options. Yeah, like Danny B's saying, I think we're saying the same thing. Like, I think we've got a bit of differences here that maybe alongside Maynard, you can see Hackney going a bit further forward, and maybe he's got a bit more quality on the ball, or maybe just he has just done it a little bit more at Middlesbrough. The Maynard's obviously, I think he's played in a few different positions at Man United, but I think his best work at the moment, and maybe it's a skill set that seems to be like this one. I'd say you need the number 7 emojis back. Then I can actually I can probably do that. Was it a Cantona one? I can probably change one of them and bring that one back if you want to see that one back. I mean, the emojis can be changed if people got some. So I can't remember which one it is, DJ. You can message me on Discord if there's one you like, or I can send you a screenshot on Discord and you can pick one. I'd say good afternoon to you, Sanjay. Good to see you in the chat, my friend. So this is also like another good point that Manchester United's transfer window, a lot of us are probably assuming that Ugarte is going to go, and we know Casemiro is gone. Toby Collier's probably gone, so that's 3 people. And I did mention Christian Eriksen, that's another player. And there is rumours which I think there might be a chance of this happening. Mason Mount did not play a lot of football under Michael Carrick, and effectively he only came into the team as a starter because Casemiro had left the club. So it could be that there is a bit of noise about Mason Mount. I'm guessing at this point in time, I would actually be thinking that Mason Mount might actually be loaned out. So I don't think we're going to sell him. I don't think there's going to be a market to buy him. But it might be that his salary that is about 250 a week, isn't it? I think that might be loaned out, and there is a reasonable chance that happens. In which case, that would be bringing in another player as well. I think Hackney would be an upgrade over Mason Mount as a squad option. So I think he's going to be available to play a lot more games, and it also represents a player that potentially you could sell Hackney for a profit if it doesn't work out, and if it does work out, it's quite a cheap option, which then could be a player that's part of the team for the next 4 or 5 years, and it does mean that maybe we don't have to worry about midfield for a few years, and that would be a positive as well. So let me just go through a few comments as well. So to be honest, then I'm almost like feel like describing Edison as like a B-Tech Anderson because he does quite similar to what Anderson does, but he does it in Serie A. So for me, that I know nothing offensive about Serie A, but it feels like a bit of a level below. So that's where I'd go with that one. But if it's a B-Tech Anderson for £30 million, it's not a terrible deal. And say you just panic when managers buy ex players. So this is probably a good point as well. That when you look at managers bringing ex players from the club, I've always said this as well that I didn't want Eric Ten Hag to bring his ex players. I didn't want to see Ruben Amorim bring his ex players because when you're trying to build a squad and Manchester United are trying to build the best possible team, it seems like very unlikely that the best players available or that you'd actually want to sign would be in the team you've just got the manager from. So no, I'm kind of the same mind. The only thing I can think of here is that I don't think Manchester United want to go down the route of buying a lot of ex players regarding whichever head coach that comes in. If it's Luis Enrique, could be a different story because they've got a world class 11. But if you're looking at most managers, you bring them in. I don't think you necessarily want to get those players in, but it could be that in the same way that Jose Mourinho identified and got Deco, got Carvalho. I think Carvalho for me was like one standout player, and that the partnership between Carvalho and John Terry was probably like the basis of like a couple of titles for Chelsea. So I think there are some instances where there's going to be some good players in. The difference with that one's going to be, of course, Porto had just won the Champions League, so they obviously had a lot of quality, a lot more than Middlesbrough. So I think when you're getting a manager that's been a Championship team, then yeah, of course, Man United should not be buying loads of players from Middlesbrough, but it could represent this could represent the one deal that makes sense again, but it has to be quite cheap, I think. I'm just trying to think of any other ones. Alex Ferguson must have bought Brian McClair and Jim Leighton, didn't he? I don't think Jim Leighton would ever be considered a success, but I'm pretty sure Brian McClair must have been from Aberdeen as well. So maybe, I think he was anyway. I can't check at this point in time, but I'm pretty sure Jim Leighton was. So it could be that, yeah, you have a look at that. Saying, yeah, this could be a good one. So Hackney could play defensive midfielder too. So you could switch to a 4-3-3 if needed. So I think also you could look at but if you got Hayden Hackney, yeah, if you got Tonali as well, I think Tonali could play defensive midfielder in the right setup. And I think Mainu could also be very good in that position. You could look at Matheus Fernandes, where could he play? I think United might be constructing a squad. This would be an interesting one because would it be that this is something that maybe I should look at as well? Make a puddle emoji. We'll have to see. Sometimes with emojis, it's difficult to work out what they are, so I'd have to make it quite a big one. Now, when you're looking at this, do you think that the transfer window is going to be in line with maybe changing the way Man United play? So that's one where I don't think we're going to go for like and go, right, let's play 4-2-3-1 for the rest of time and play exactly the same way. But instead of Casemiro, there'll be too many there. And instead of, I don't know, having a Agati in the squad, we're going to have Edison. So I don't think it's going to be quite as simple as that. Although I think that's kind of the basis of a lot of the starting points for discussions. A lot of people look at it and go, right, Casemiro is gone, Agati's gone. These two players need to replace those in the squad. But I think sometimes the situation's a bit more complex than that. And it might mean that Man United actually look at it and go, let's have a look at which players we're going to bring in. And can we bring some players in so that if we want to play, like three men in midfield and Bruno Fernandes is not in the squad and we're looking at three people that work together well, would Hayden Hackney be one of those people? So would we need to get four midfielders in and actually maybe consider not getting in an attacking left-sided player and maybe just get a defensive option as well. So maybe look at trying to get a centre back, a left back, and four midfielders in as six signings. I mean, I think we still need a backup striker. So for me, it doesn't 100% work out, but it could be it could be a potential one as well. Yeah, I think for this one, just get the Champions League trophy. They'll know what it means. I think Arsenal fans might be somewhat absent for a little while. Um, So Sen Men's Premier League transfer of the season. Okay, has this just been announced? To be honest, I would say that value for money wise, he's been amazing, hasn't he? Like really good. So honestly, I'll say this as well, that I know there's a lot of negativity about Man United, and rightly so over the last decade that transfer windows have generally been not very good. But maybe this, like Sen Men's, is an indication that Man United are making better deals. Like I was on a space about an hour ago, and there's a few people that are not very happy with the idea that we might sign Hackney. But my point of view for that would be that how much do you trust Man United's recruitment strategy? And if you trust it, and I think that it's difficult to, like, I don't trust Jim Radcliffe, so this is not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that the scouts at Manchester United, and if you remember the last night's stream, one of the guests last night, they know a lot of scouts, and they know a lot of, like, they've been an academy player themselves. They know a lot of the scouts around different clubs, and also their brother is like friends with some scouts as well. And there's a lot of football scouts in the Premier League. This is something that I didn't really realise. There's a lot of scouts. They don't necessarily work for Manchester United. A lot of scouts are independent. They're self-employed and they're freelance, and they'll do scouting, and the information will be there from multiple teams. So the information that Manchester United get from scouts might well be exactly the same information that other Premier League teams get as well. So some of these scouts, they don't necessarily work for Manchester United or work for Chelsea or work for Arsenal or City. They'll be independent, freelance scouts. They'll do the work, and then it'll be up to Manchester United, Manchester City, Arsenal, Liverpool. It'll be up to those clubs to interpret the data, interpret the scouting reports, and then use that in line with other information they've got to make the right decision. So I think the scouting has always been fine. It's been the decision making that's been poor. So I think the scouts are doing a good job. They know what they're doing. The difference is going to be, what's happening at the club. So I go through a few of the comments as well. Uh, well, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about Jordan Henderson. To be honest, no idea as well. So Manchester United, so are going to beat Paris Saint-Germain in getting, what's this a bit of? Is this in terms of like Matheus Fernandes? Now, I'll just put the Matheus Fernandes story on the screen so if people want to comment on that one, you can do so. I think the Matheus Fernandes deal that I don't think he's going to go to any other Premier League club unless he goes to Paris Saint-Germain. I think this could be a Man United deal. So this would be, again, I think a good deal for Man United to do if they can get it done. But the price is going to be a bit more expensive, isn't it? So if we're not going to get a proper CDM, I think we'll stick to a 4-2-3-1. Do you think that like Fernandez, Tonali, Edison, not pure CDMs, do you think that Man United could actually use Kobe Mainoo as a CDM though? So I think he's got all the skill sets. I think he's got the attributes to be a really good link between defence and midfield. So I think that they could be considering that one. There's a few people I know that also think that if you put Tonali in that position, he would be effective. Again, this is just different people's opinions as well. What's been announced then, Yarli? I can't see all the comments. I can't scroll back through them at the moment. Danny B is saying that 2 years ago, Curry's best position is deep lying. I think that he's got all the attributes for it. That's what I'm saying. That potentially that everybody's going to be thinking about, do Man United need to buy a CDM? Do Man United need to spend big money on this one? And when you look at it, I think maybe the players come through the academy, and I think Kobe Mainoo could be that best option. That the only thing he hasn't got, he doesn't have a wide range of passing, so he's not going to be able to. do maybe what Scholes used to do from deep. So I don't think he can be a deep lying playmaker in that regard. But I think what he could do is he could do some of the things that Roy Keane did, where getting possession, making, I'm going to say world class for like Roy Keane. And I think Kobe Mainoo could be like a world class player in terms of distributing the ball from defense, setting up the midfielders, making the right decisions in a short space of time. So I think that the thing that Kobe Mainoo does, that do you remember when we used to try and play? I'm trying to think like Paul Pogba, or would used to try and play with like Fred or McTominay, or like have people in deep positions and receive the ball in the half turn either side. Like it never worked with Pogba, it never worked with a McTominay. And to be honest, those players should not have been in that position. Those players should have been further forward. I think Kobe Mainoo is the first player that we've had in the team for ages where I think he's just world class at doing that. And in every single match I've seen Mainoo play, I've never seen him look flustered. I've never seen him in unsure on where to play the ball. It's like he knows what to do, and that he's had that from the age of 18, 19. So I think Danny, I think you're right, and I think a lot of people are saying the same sort of thing. I've heard a lot of people talking about is mainly good as a 10. I think he is good. I think he could be good as a 10, but I think at the moment, I think he's too good where he is. So I'd be looking at building around Mainu as Mainu's going to be the pivot in front of defence. The only thing that Mainu doesn't really have is he doesn't have the maybe the ground coverage that a player like Anderson would have. So you would look at maybe getting more mobile players in front of him that would be able to like cover the ground, come back on defense, help out winning the ball. But I think in terms of any sort of build-up play, I think Kobe Mainoo could be perfect for that. Like you build up through the defense, the ball goes to Mainoo. Mainoo can pick out passes. He can dribble as well, and he's quite good on the ball. And I think that could be quite a good start to the midfield. You got obviously Bruno Fernandes in front. I think you just need to look at how you build around. And if Bruno Fernandes isn't on the pitch, maybe you're looking at a Tonali plus a Mathis Fernandez or plus an Edison. I think you've got good options there. But I mean, I'm hoping we'd get at least three midfielders. I don't think we're going to get four. I think that's been a bit ambitious. Arteta's on the radar. I did see this yesterday. I think it might have been this might have been the stream from yesterday morning where I said that there's apparently like a striker shortlist, and I see a few people listing the players I saw listed as well. I think one of them was Mateta, one of them was Krupi Jr., who might be expensive. I think one of them was going to be Lewandowski. One of them was Vlahovic. I'm quite negative on Vlahovic. Um, Lewandowski, I can't say I've seen enough of him recently to say whether he'd actually be good enough. That's probably the question as well. That Lewandowski close to his best, or anywhere remotely close to his best, is obviously a top quality opposition, a top quality player. The question would be like, how much contribution can he make? The only concern I've got about Lewandowski is I don't think he can play enough minutes to give like Sesko enough kind of rotation, like enough time off the pitch. If he's able to play games or start the odd game, so I think we need if we're going to get a backup striker, I think he needs to be able to start a decent number of games. I don't think Lewandowski started many games in the Premier League. Like if Man United want to press, I don't think Lewandowski can do that anymore. He's no doubt for me. If we're facing a low block and it's like 75 minutes, Lewandowski's the perfect player to come off. That's what I look at. I think Lewandowski might be a player that Man United have got more problems than Lewandowski can solve. I think we need a striker that can play more minutes than Lewandowski would be capable of. That's kind of my gut feeling. So I like him, but I think it might be. I think if a couple of years ago it could have been, but I don't know. If we signed him, I'd put this signing in the category. If we signed Lewandowski, I'd be sat here thinking, wow, what could happen? Because to be honest, like, it's always going to have the finishing. The only difference is going to be how many chances is Lewandowski going to be able to get over a game? Because it's nowhere near as mobile as he used to be. Apparently, he's going to take a price cut. So, so no more strikers. No, if I had to make the call, I'd say my brain is saying, no, don't do it. Like, don't do that one. Like Lewandowski, I think he's looking for like a bit of a boost to his pension now. So I think it's a bit of a risky one. But then if you go for like yeah, no place for geriatrics. Do you remember when you, as an example, do you remember Shevchenko in his prime? Like Shevchenko in 1998, 1999, 2000, like prime Shevchenko playing for, I'm trying to think who it was now. Was it Dynamo Kiev? So prime Shevchenko. Then he goes to like Milan. He's an absolute beast in Serie A. In an era where it's difficult to score goals, he's scoring like 25, 30 goals. And when he came to the Premier League, it was just like too late for him. And it wasn't that it was awful. It was just like, 5 years earlier, maybe. And but I think Lewandowski, it's just a bit too, it's about 38 now. So you, I don't think the Bundesliga could be a retirement league for like Harry Kane going that way. But you can't go to the Premier League you can't come to the Premier League to retire because it's brutal. Like I think Lewandowski should have a look at the USA and see if there's an option there, or the Saudi Pro League if he really wants to get some money. But I think the Premier League for me is like, no, it's not going to happen. Do you think fitness wise he should be okay? No, I'll say this: Lewandowski does look like he's in great shape. Like a lot of the Bayern Munich players do look like they know what they're doing, like workout wise. But I think it's also that many minutes, that many games, that much experience. Like the Premier League's just brutal, isn't it? So I don't think it's a quality issue. I think it just purely is like a yeah. Cristiano Ronaldo, when we had him, is obviously wasn't able to do what he used to do in his prime, and Lewandowski, you're going to get like a version that's half as good as what he used to be. But no, it's fine. So you're going to take this from say no, no. Lewandowski, I think, is interesting, but I think most Man United fans are worried that it feels a bit like a step we've done in the past, doesn't it? It feels a bit like people are going, no. I forgot that. I forgot. Um, Yeah, was it yesterday or the day before? I said yesterday or the day before that people were asking me if I was like the agent for Hayden Hackney because I did kind of mention him quite a lot. And my reason was I always mention Hayden Hackney because he's a cost-effective signing, isn't it? I mean, when people start getting worried about the budget, I kind of throw names in there and go, Hayden Hackney's quite cheap. And at this point in time, what's the percentage chance? This is again okay. We'll play this game. What is the percentage chance we sign Hayden Hackney? What do people think? Like, just put a percentage in the chat. Like, what percentage chance do you think we sign Hayden Hackney? I think Edison's got to be like 90%. I would say Mathis Fernandez, for me, I think it's like over 50. Over 50. Tonali, I don't know, what would you give like Tonali? Like 30%? I think there's definitely something there. I think it's definitely in the mix of like two or three players. Hayden Hackney, what do you reckon? Like percentage wise, chance, Hayden Hackney. Yori goes in with 2%. 2%. So I think that's my answer for too many, to be honest. Like too many for me is on like 2%. So I think Hayden Hackney gets a Premier League move. And it might be to Nottingham Forest. It might be to Brighton. If it's to Manchester United, I think it will be a bit of a surprise. Then say 35%. 35% is actually pretty high. So I've got two, I've got a 35. So they do say that in life, as if you ask enough people and take an average, usually the average is quite close to what actually happens. So in terms of like guessing things, if you guess like marbles in a jar and you ask like 10 people to guess, usually the average is actually not far off. So as a group, if we all guess what percentage of Hackney's happening, we'll probably be close to like the true answer. And if Carrick's happy with Hackney, then yeah, exactly. If Michael Carrick doesn't like, if Man United sign Hackney, for me, the only information that gives me, if Man United sign Hayden Hackney, that tells me that Michael Carrick has spoken to the people at Man United, spoken to Vavell, Wilcox, etc., and said Hackney can do a job, get him in, he's a good signing. So again, I think Michael Carrick might have well said that anyway, and he might not have joined. Man United might not have gone for him, but I say you would sign Hackney if providing we get a Tonali or an Anderson. Yeah, no, it doesn't. I think the Hayden Hackney for me, there's like levels to this transfer window, isn't there? There's like Group One signings, which are Tonali, Too Many, Ellie Anderson, and I think that's probably about it. Then below that, I think you've got the like Alex Scott. You actually maybe Wharton. Wharton could be close to that level. So Adam Wharton, I think, is very good. And then you've got maybe Belieber, Alex Scott. You've got Mathis Fernandez, and you can argue which order they're in, but I think they're going to be the 50 to 60 million pound signings. And I think then you've got Edison. You've got think Joe Gomez, or you got I'm trying to think other options that we looked at that are going to be cheaper, and Hayden Hackney, and it's maybe like you get one or the other. So I think that there's no way that Man United would go, let's get Hackney instead of Tonali. That for me, that's not going to work. And is there any chance that we're actually pivoting away from Edison, or does everyone assume that's a done deal? So it could be that we're just trying to find out what's happening regarding this one. Why would you need? I don't know. That's like saying why would you need a sports car when you've actually got two legs? I think that if Man United want to achieve things, then Agate is about as useful as I don't know. Yeah, put it this way, it's not useful. Um, yeah, whenever I watch a stream, I'm often watching on my phone, and I'm shit with emojis. Uh, Ryan's obviously like a professional. You'd be happy with Shay Charles, and Hackney instead of Tonali. I think Tonali would flop that bad. Brill, are you sure about this? Like, are you sure that that would be the reaction? I think I don't think Tonali flops. I think Man United have got an idea of, and also I think the way Michael Carrick sets up the team, I think the way that Man United are playing it over the last say January to the summer, I don't. I think it makes all the players actually look better. So if Manchester United bought Tonali and we picked one of the previous couple of managers, I think Tonali might look a bit average. But also, I think that Anderson would struggle as well. So I think under Michael Carrick, I'm going to say this. I think that Hackney would actually work quite well on our team. I think Edison would work quite well on our team. I think Tonali would work quite well on our team. So I think it's about getting maybe more options. Like some would work better than others for sure. But I think that most of them, I think we'd have an effective midfield in most games. So I mean, we're going to find out quite soon, aren't we? So Charles looks bang average, and that's being nice. So if bang average is a compliment, Genghis, then yeah, you can post your comments of what you think Agate's like, and we'll see what how far you go. So if Manchester United got Edison, this is a good one actually. So Edison, Fernandez, and Hackney, would that midfield make top four? I'm going to say if Man United had that midfield, I think top four is achievable. But I think the difference is going to be like for me, top four is not a target. And I think Manchester United's current squad, and with some upgrades, will get top four because you're looking at Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool as the three most likely teams in a title race. Then you've got Manchester United, I think, in the mix of that group of four. And I don't think there's any other team that can catch that group. I think the most likely that could would be someone like Chelsea, but I don't see like Bournemouth, Brighton. These teams are going to have extra European football, so I think if we sign these players, cake, I think we get top four. But for me, that midfield three you've got there. That's not enough, in my view. I'm quite greedy as a fan, so I don't think that's enough. But I think we still get top four. I think we should get top four. So it's very tricky, isn't it? If you ask me, do we win the league? I'd say no. But to be honest, there'd be a lot of those sort of things as well. Big up to you, Jeff. Legend. Thank you so much for the super chat, Jeff. I'm trying to guess what time it is where you are. It's like nearly 2 p.m., isn't it, here? So 8 in the morning. Am I right in thinking 8 in the morning, Texas time? But big up to you, Jeff. Your support is always massively appreciated. And hopefully you can join a call-in show quite soon. I'm going to try and do like a midweek one and a Sunday one to give people more opportunity to come on. Last night's show was ridiculously long. I know that it wasn't really intentional, but it was just like the last half an hour, last hour, I was barely talking. I was just letting people talk, and I was kind of like almost a viewer. Anyway, so I will try and do something similar, but maybe what we'll do is we'll have like a combination of maybe calling shows, maybe like a fan forum type things where a load of people can join at the same time, and we'll just see what works and try a few different things. But no, massive thanks to you, Jeff. Always appreciate that one. Was letting Overtime go a mistake? um, oh, that's the most confusing question I think I've ever seen because for a start, I'm struggling to remember what Overtime did. It's obviously not a mistake, but I honestly, with Obertan, in there's some players you just literally can't remember. I can't remember how much Obertan cost. I can't remember how much we sold him for, and I can't remember anything he did. So I don't know. Um, I think Obertan is like largely irrelevant to me as a Man United fan. So I don't know. Good, yeah, Bilal. I think Obertan's the only thing I can think of as Obertan was Obertan one of the players we bought when we replaced Cristiano Ronaldo. We got Obertan, Valencia, and Michael Owen, was it? I mean, I think it was something like that. And to be honest, I was just disappointed that Ronaldo left and we didn't get very good players in. Serious question though, yeah, serious points. Do I think Man United will take JJ on tour? I think he's going to be. I think the JJ stuff is like very. It's something that Man United need to make sure they get right. There's a lot of interest around JJ. He's got a lot of top quality. I think JJ is going to be. I think to keep JJ at the club, and Man United's aim is going to be at the moment. Man United's main aim is going to be get JJ on a long-term professional contract at Manchester United, and make sure Barcelona do not get sniffed. So I think JJ is going to be getting not quite exactly what JJ wants, but I think the answer to this question is going to be, yeah, JJ is going to be involved in some regards, and he's definitely going to be getting something next season in terms of games and minutes. I don't know how much though. It might a lot of it might depend on um, what they're trying to do. It might no maybe there's going to be. Someone said yesterday actually off camera that they're wondering if will there be some sort of deal where JJ gets something to maybe like sweeten the deal a bit. So I think it might be some involvement, like Danny's saying. He'll get something, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how close he is to being ready. I think he'll get some opportunities, but yeah, we'll have to see. I think physically he's not going to be ready, but it might be that you get something. He'll get something from the club to make sure he kind of like stays happy and eventually signs a longer term deal. So I don't know what he's going to get next season. It's one to look out for, but also that physically he's not the same as Wayne Rooney. And I think the difference between being like making that jump from academy, if you've got the skill level, then you still got to have the physical level. And I don't think he's got the physical level at the moment. He's got the skills, but he's not going to be able to do it at the Premier League level that effectively. So, if anything, I think with JJ, I know maybe JJ himself or people talking about him, they probably want to see him in the Premier League rapidly, but it might not be the best option. Like in the long term, it might be better for JJ to take things a bit slower. So I'd never want to rush academy player through. And myself and Danny seem to be 100% in line with this one. I think he's got a lot of potential, but you got to bring him through in the right way. Like this idea of like dropping academy players into the first team, it's no, it's not sensible. Big up to you, Howard. Though, hope you enjoyed your shift. Then I remember when I did shift work quite a long time ago now. I did like night shift sometimes, and I didn't really mind it too much because it did mean that I didn't spend any money going out. But I did listen to like a lot of radio. I'm just thinking if I was doing that now, I'd probably be listening to like random Man United streams at like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. But hopefully your shift went well, and big up to you in the for watching as well. Yeah, I think you're right. I think JJ will get some sort of token involvement with the idea that he signs a contract. So I think JJ will get a little bit, but not crazy. Because I think if JJ didn't have the high profile he did, I think Man United would not consider giving him that many minutes at all. But I think because he's got the high profile and Man United were a bit wary about teams like Barcelona poaching him, I think he might get some sort of token involvement just to keep him interested, just to keep him kind of like more invested in the club. That's what I'm thinking regarding this one as well. Is it true that Man United pretty much had to get Agate to get the Euro deal done? Because that seems to be, in terms of like Agate doesn't make sense, but a lot of people are thinking that the reason why we got Agate done was to get Euro, and it could be that when people have the same agents and the same involvement, but so I think there's definitely a few things happen in football for certain reasons. It might be that JJ, just to cover this one last time, it might be that JJ gets a bit of involvement more than he would do normally because Man United just see the long term, the long term issue at hand. So let me have a look at the poll in the comments. I did say that we'd discuss Hackney and we'll see what people think. So is this a good deal? If you want to vote, you've got like 30 seconds and then we'll close the vote. But it's like the question was, should Man United sign Hayden Hackney? The guess is like £30 million. And yeah, exactly, Danny. That's the rumor, isn't it? That Man United signed Agate to get the Euro deal done because of Mendes. So nobody like when we're talking about Agate a year ago, like 2 years ago actually, on Red Devil United, we looked at it and said this deal does not make sense. There's better players out there for cheaper money. I think Man United just kind of had to do this deal, unfortunately. So should Man United sign Hackney? Yes, say 58%. No, say 42%. So overall, people are. I think with this one, it's a bit. What's the word? So let me just find the comment. If this is true, whoever did that should have been sacked. The problem is, Manchester United wanted the Euro deal done desperately because they saw Euro as being like a generational talent, and the only way to get this deal kind of like facilitated was Agate moving to Man United as well. So that's the rumor. But the thing is, would be that then depending on like where Agate could well be one of these players that does move clubs in conjunction with other deals as well, based on like who his agent is. So this sort of thing is a bit annoying, but it would mean that Man United got a bit unlucky as well. Like Agate, he could have done more. Like it could have worked out better. I think he didn't look as bad as he did this season, the first season he was here. But no, it's one of those things that if you want to get Euro, then you had to get him. So it's a bit annoying, but I can't honestly say who would be ultimately responsible because ultimately it's probably a team decision and a group decision. So I'll say this, Kate. I think they could use Lacey's foot maybe. He looks like he's got some like a bit in his foot. And before we wrap up, say, has anyone got any questions they want to cover? As well. Yeah, Ashworth will get the blame for Agate. At the moment, it seems that if something goes wrong, then people will probably blame Dan Ashworth because he's not at the club. And most people, I think, watching, if something goes badly wrong, they're probably going to be blaming Wilcox. Although at the moment, I think Wilcox, Brada, Vavell, I think that I was going to say they're all to blame. I think they all make the decisions together as well. So it's not going to be a big problem, to be honest. Big up to you, Andy. Hope you're having a good day as well. Is that the one that Gabrielle fired into the air? To be honest, they could just get Gabrielle to kick the rocket into space. I mean, he is quite good at doing that. I was with the director of football, but that was Eric Ten Hag was pushing. Yeah, so I think with this one, that in terms of like the influence that a manager has, I think when people talk about Michael Carrick picking Hackney, I think Michael Carrick can actually he could make or break this deal by saying, look, I think Hackney's well worth it. Or he could say, look, it's because if Hackney's been advised to be signed by Michael Carrick and it doesn't work out, then that puts Michael Carrick in quite a weak negotiating position if he's head coach in a year's time and he wants to have some say. So I think Michael Carrick will be sensible. If he's recommending Hayden Hackney, then this will be, he'll be Hayden Hackney will be scouted by elite scouts anyway, and like I said, a lot of scouts are freelance, so the people scouting Hackney that were scouting him for Spurs might well be the same people that are giving Man United information as well. So the information will be common knowledge about how good Hackney is. I think definitely Spurs were seriously looking at him, and I think Man United are considering it as well. But no, yeah. So the sort of state that Eric Ten Hag had is not going to be the level that that Michael Carrick will have. It just won't be as much. Now Besiktas, at the moment, you know how we used to send every player to Inter Milan. Is Turkey becoming like the new Serie A? Because it looks like, in terms of like players going there, we got Onana gone there. We got Besiktas are going to take Bayern. Maybe Galatasaray want Agate as well. I mean, it feels a bit like but we used to send players to Sunderland, and then when we signed, got enough players going to Sunderland, then we looked at Everton as another place we could send play people. We sent a load of players to Inter Milan. I think there was about four there at one point, and it could be like the Turkish league is now the next place that it's the one league that our mediocre players actually look quite good, but also they can afford to pay good salaries. So Turkish league at the moment seems to be like the perfect place. Um, Say Besiktas, but yeah, it's going to be about 2 million, isn't it? We're going to get like about £5 from buying deer. So the transfer fee and transfer budget will not change at all. So unfortunately, big up Solly in the chat. I'm not sure if I saw you in the chat earlier. This one. How did Bindia get into the Turkish squad? My question would be that if Bindia was scouted, what the hell happened? Like, how many times did they scout Bindia? Because I've seen him play well once, and he played well against Arsenal. If I don't only seen the Arsenal game when Bindia saved the penalty, I'd be thinking actually this player's not bad. But then every other game I've seen him play, he's been dreadful. So I'm just wondering whether that did we get unlucky when we scouted him? Like we could have got unlucky possibly. I don't know. I think it's a combination of I don't know. Maybe there's not a lot of. I don't know about Turkish goalkeepers. Maybe there's not a lot of options. I have no idea at all. Danny B, I don't know if you saw the stream last night, but one of the guests, his brother is a season ticket holder at Ashton Gate, watches every single game, thinks Vitek's absolutely unreal. Like, he thinks got the. He's not a goalkeeping fanatic, this guy, but he absolutely loves him. The other guest that was on last night as well, he used to be an academy goalkeeper and played for Gainsborough as well. So he's also been looking at Vitek. So he's going to be Vitek is probably worth as much as Lammens cost last season, and I think Vitek is in line for. Now, I think he could get a Premier League move if certain clubs near the bottom of the league or were looking for a goalkeeper. Man United are going to. This is going to be a struggle. I think Man United are going to struggle to keep him at the club. They can force him to stay. Obviously, he's under contract, but I think United will have to consider the options as well. He's probably that Bristol City was saying that this is not over exaggerating. They're saying that Vitek kept him in the championship last season. They think he's that good. He was like man of the match most games they played. So again, he's got work to do. He's got improvements to make, but I think he's going to be an international goalkeeper in a couple of years. And Man United, I don't think we can keep him as a number two because he's going to want to go. So um, not the worst problem, is it? We used to have a problem where we used to have two goalkeepers that were not good enough. Now we might have two goalkeepers that no one wants to be backup goalkeeper. So it's a different problem, but it's still going to be a bit of an issue as well. What can you do though? What can you do if he wants to leave? I think Man United might have to. They might have to just take the money. It's a bit frustrating. Maybe they could sell them. Maybe they could sell Vitek on to a club that they know that Vitek would eventually move somewhere else from and put a decent sell-on clause in. So it could be that Man United get a decent amount of money from Vitek, but it might be that they have to do it right via the sell-on clause. So I'd go down that route. If Vitek 100% doesn't want to stay at Man United, and I would try everything possible to keep him, but if he's adamant he's going to leave, and there's nothing you can do about it. Just get a decent transfer fee, but put a significant sell-on clause in there because he's going to be worth a fortune at some point. So yeah, I would go for that one. I'll go through the comments very quickly because I'm about to finish. But Malp says no Anderson, no too many, no Tonali. Um, I'll just say it's the 1st of June, so um, who knows what's going to happen? There's still a lot to go. I think also we have no idea how many players we're going to sign. But Malp's, we'll just have to revisit this when we find out. Big up to you, Daz, as well. Are we missing out on number one targets? So let me just go back to this slide from this morning, and I used it earlier. This is kind of Man United's top targets, isn't it? So beyond this, if Man United don't get one of these players, it will feel a bit disappointing. And I think at the moment that my estimation was going to be like I think too many is very unlikely. I think Elliot Anderson feels quite unlikely. I'd imagine that Man United consider Tonali a top target, I think they might go for him. So that's my estimation at the moment. I mean, we're kind of fighting like Real Madrid want to keep too many, I think, anyways, and too many doesn't want to leave. So that seems like a no-brainer. So in terms of like top targets, it's basically just saying if Man United don't get Anderson, who have we got? And yeah, it's not great, is it? I just saw that comment from Bilal, and I'll say this is actually really sad news because I think like people talk about Kevin Keegan as manager of Newcastle United, but no, world class football player, genuinely good guy actually as well. So that's pretty sad news. And so just to go through, like I said, I was trying to keep the stream to an hour, but I know people just come in quickly, so I'll just go for a few points. There will be a stream tonight about 9 p.m. hosted by Jules. There may be an opportunity for me to do something quickly at like say 7, half 6, 7 o'clock, depending on news. So I might consider doing like a 30, 45-minute stream just to cover a bit of news before that. But Hackney in midfield, no brainer. Needs strength in depth. We got no numbers in there, and he could do a job. That would you? This is a quick yes no question for people that just tuned in. Would you be happy if Manchester United got four midfielders, but it would mean that some of the deals are quite cheap? Like you got the Hackney for 30, maybe you got Edison for 35, you maybe got um, Mathis Fernandez, and you got Alex Scott. Like for example, then with Mania that's five, but that would mean that none of the players are going to be incredibly expensive. Would you be happy with a lot of depth, but potentially not like a flagship signing, etc. So not a flagship signing, but potentially um, quite a few numbers coming in. Welcome to you and the madness. I think it just means that Man United have just got a lot of. I think they've got a lot of options, so it's really difficult to kind of guess regarding this one. Yeah, no, I'll just say this, Malps. Don't feel too despondent because there's a long way to go. That's what I'll say as well. Yeah, no, Kevin Keegan's one of those people that, because he's like a passionate football guy, then I think we used to talk about Kevin Keegan because of his meltdown as Newcastle manager. But no, he was a top quality player as well. Yeah, let's blame Andy Mitten. Don't blame me, guys. Andy Mitten was the no. That's good to hear. I think with Kevin Keegan though, also does a lot of charity work is something you should say as well. So yeah, no, he's a good guy. Don't let anybody take that hope away from you, Jabassis, even if it's unlikely. Don't let me tell you it's not going to happen, even though I think it's not going to happen. Um, you'd prefer Hackney and Scott over Tonali. So this was kind of my argument. I was going to say, what if Man United got Alex Scott? They got Hayden Hackney, Edison, and Mathis Fernandez. You've got a bit of experience there in Edison. You got Matheus Fernandes, who's a very good player for the future as well. Hayden Hackney is the championship player, so again, he hasn't got the same level of experience. And Alex Scott looks like a good player. I think for me, that's probably a bit of a slight gamble because all those players are going to generally not be quite at the level you want initially. But I think it does give you a lot of options. It would be a bit of an unlikely one, but I just thought it's a potential option as well. So no, maybe what we can do is maybe we can do like a mini stream when we get a few players in. We can assess how the transfer window is going as a group and just give it. We can give signings ratings as well, can't we? Yeah, no, I think unfortunately, but yeah, maybe tune in for next week when we start talking about Belieber back on. Who knows? Who knows that things are going to things will take a few twists and turns, won't they? I did see this actually as well, but this is I want to say something about this story as well. Barcelona after Bernardo Silva, and we know Barcelona have got a lot of quality in their squad, younger players. This does indicate though that this is something Man United need to be mindful of. You do need a bit of experience in your team, and I think Barcelona recognise that a few experienced players, they might be moving on a few players as well. They're looking at that as an option. So if anyone's got any questions as well. So no one's bitten yet. Fernandez bought as understandably understudy to Fernandez, making it confusing. Still get Tonali, Belieber, and Edison for the pivots. But that's a yeah. There's almost like too many options, isn't there? Like Hayden Hackney is an option. That's all it is. That's to be honest. Um, but we'll finish on Matheus Fernandez because people are already accusing me of being like an agent for Hayden Hackney. If only I was, I could get a decent kickback from any sort of Premier League move, couldn't I? If I was Hayden Hackney's agent, I've done a good job because we're here talking about him potentially joining Man United and people are on board. So now, I was actually that's the wrong slide. I was looking for Matheus Fernandez. Yeah, this was like posted a couple of days ago, and I see more and more stories about Fernandez. I think Matheus Fernandez is there for Man United to get done if they want to get the deal done. The only thing that could kind of jeopardize it is if Paris Saint-Germain go in heavy, and I'm not sure they will do. If I'm Paris Saint-Germain, I'm probably just sticking with the same team. They've got a younger squad anyway. I would just stick with the same team pretty much, unless players want to leave the club. But I think they go for like a third Champions League title in a row and try and get that done. And if they want to take Matheus Fernandez, I think Man United can offer Matheus Fernandez more first team football, and we should be able to get this deal done. But no, I don't think Matheus Fernandez and Hackney are in the same conversation. I mean, JDC, I do agree with you. If we didn't get Matheus Fernandez, went for Hackney, it wouldn't make sense. But if we got both of them, then I'm happy with that deal. So yeah, football and wrestling together. To be honest, that's just like watching Arsenal, isn't it? So not great, not great. Just before I head off, guys, if you're able to share the stream as we're live and send it to people you know, just to try and grow the channel. The Man United at the moment, United TV is pretty much only watched by people that subscribe to the channel. It doesn't get any other views from anyone that doesn't know the channel exists. So hopefully that will change in the near future. But if you're able to share it, click the like, I don't know, send it to people you know, that'd be appreciated. But then, guys, there might be a live stream in the early evening. There will definitely be something at 9 p.m. tonight for Jules G Wolf on that one as well. So we'll be doing at least three streams today, maybe four. But if I do one that's if I do something at like 7 p.m., it will be rapid. It'll be a short one. So I'll see if there's any news. If there's something significant to talk about, I'll do something quickly, but it will be quite a short one if I do that. So now big up to you, Randy. Yeah. So whatever happens, someone's going to be happy, someone's going to be disappointed, and we can't really guess until that happens. But what I will say is thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for the super chat earlier on. Jeff, that's appreciated. I know you've headed off, but no, it's always appreciated. And thanks everybody that's a moderator on the channel. Thanks people that are channel members as well. Everyone that's helping support the community. And I think you guys have put in some great comments. I know half of you are disappointed with every signing we make. or linked to, and the other half are probably enthusiastic. And I'm kind of trying to be somewhat in the middle because I don't know what's going to happen either. I think there's things that are likely to happen, but until they actually do happen, you never know. This is Man United. We have no idea what's going to happen as well. Six new signings to end the madness. Then I will quote you on that if we get them. I think we might get six as well. I'm thinking that's kind of a roughly where we're going to be, and it might that might actually be a good window. If it's quality, I think it might actually be a good window. And I think there's not many players we're linked to. I think are going to make us like disappointing. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'll have to think about that. I'll have to think about what's the best thing to do, Solly. If you're on Discord, I might bounce ideas off you. But I was thinking that maybe I should change the name slightly, like United TV, and maybe it could be Man United TV, Manchester United TV. I'll have a look at it, but there's some names I can't use because they're already taken. But it does come up. Yeah, if you search for United TV 1878, it comes up because when I did United TV, there was just loads and loads of different channels. So if you got good suggestions of like potentially a new channel name, if that would help with search, because I don't think people search YouTube channels though. That people search topics. But if you got suggestions in terms of like that, I mean, if they find the channel, they'll know it's Man United stuff because Man United logos over everything. But no, have a think. If you guys have got suggestions, I will take them on board. But then, guys, enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you hopefully in the evening streams tonight. And then, guys, take care, and we'll catch you soon.